anybody I was that mad at, I'm gonna stick around and pester.
That's where I went to pick up my dog.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:30.
Long ride.
Okay, we have a quick roll call.
Donna Baron, present.
Peter Dunlop, present.
Jim Gibberti present.
Malcolm White, present.
Wonderful. We have minutes from the December 13th meeting.
Yeah,
Look good to me.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented to us.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Accepted 400. Citizen participation, we don't have any. Sewer business, what have we got up tonight, Guy?
I've been on vacation, I'm
Yeah,
still
I know.
on vacation, so I have nothing.
Okay.
And same thing with my report, I didn't put a report together, but there's a couple things on it, I don't really know exactly what they are, but I'll do my best to address it, but I have no report, I've been on vacation.
Can you just tell us who some of these people are on this?
Cool.
What did Wright Pierce do for $48,000
On what?
on the bills payable?
Oh, okay. Bill payable, where's Wright Pierce?
Right up the top.
Wright Pierce, $48,000?
Yeah.
That's the, we did the force main on Minot Avenue. So we're waiting for that report to come. We paid
Oh, that's the engineering on that?
the engineering to, and
Digging it up.
digging it up and putting a slide
Oh, the whole
on it.
thing.
It's Wright Pierce, yeah.
Okay.
Wright
Okay.
Pierce, that's Wright Pierce is.
How come this one National Grid bill is so high, this $4,000 one? Where's that?
I have
That's
no
the plant.
idea. Maybe the plant, I have
That's
to
gotta
look
be
at
the
it.
plant.
Well, the
That's
plant's
the-
usually 20-something thousand, so it could be,
Yeah, but-
it could be a major pump station, another part of the plant. I have to look at, I don't have the bill number for
I'm gonna
it.
guess it's the plant because of the size of the pump station, we can get up quite that high. even-
I would hope. The plant, because usually the plant's around 20,000 a month, but I don't know specific to the plant. Yeah, I guess.
Something triggered the plant.
Yeah, 20,000 a month. So I-
Who's NCL of Wisconsin?
It's a lab company, we buy lab equipment from NCL.
And Watershed Maintenance Corp?
Watershed Maintenance Corp. I have no idea, I don't have it in front of me, it sounds awfully familiar. Watershed Maintenance Corp, okay, Watershed Maintenance Corp is the guy that does that cammering, our truck is gone.
That's it. I was trying to remember,
does
because I
what?
looked that one up specifically.
Watershed, it's guy, Alsop, the guy's name is, he's out of,
He did that, Cameron. Don't we do our own,
He
Cameron?
does what?
cleaning, Doctor's gone, so he's been doing the cleaning, cleaning of the lines, he's done Toby Road. I can't forget all the projects, but he's done a bunch of projects for us. We don't have a Vector to clean the lines, I misspoke, not Cameron,
Oh, okay.
Vector and cleaning the lines.
Right.
Okay.
Toby Road was a mess, Main, where Gravy's to Main Street, Springboard was a mess, Kendrick was a mess, we've done that one, some others, I
So
can't remember.
he's cleaning the lines. Okay. Who's Singro?
That's, they do our sludge. That's who picks up our sludge. It's our sludge disposal, Cinegro.
Wow, that's not cheap, is it?
How much was that one?
35,000.
1,000.
Oh, that's down a little.
It's, yeah, it used to be about 42.
Yeah, so I say that's down a little.
How often?
We do it, well, it's a monthly bill. We truck out sludge every single day. Every single day we truck it, yeah, the average two
Now,
trucks, 1.7.
if we went with that screw press, could we bring that down?
Would be less sludge because we're putting out water pretty much. 5% is what we max out at. Average 4 to 5%. The screw press would be around 20%. So yeah, you're going to gain 15%. That's less water.
And what we would gain is we would gain a reduction in cost in the shipping. That's the only place we'd save on. We would save on the actual sludge disposal. But it would drop the shipping cost because of that, what was that price there, 32,000, 34,000?
$35,000. So
About half of that is trucking.
yeah, the good percentage trucking and then tipping. So I don't know if Cinegro would bid on the solids. Waste Management in New Hampshire, we'd have to take it to the closest. Bourne really doesn't want it. So what we really have to figure out is what that per ton cost is going to be, whoever was taking the solid waste. And right now, it's Turnkey out of New Hampshire does solid waste. And so last I knew, they were about $95 a ton. So
Now, if we did the screw press and we had solid waste, we can't use that in any form? It is hazardous waste?
Nothing's hazardous about wastewater, other than some of the chemicals you may get from industrial. For the most part, wastewater, domestic, is non-hazardous. So what has to happen is you always worry about bacteria, virus and things of that sort. So you'd have to somehow sanitize it for any type of land application or any type of use. And it's a major process. It's a permitting process to do. But yeah, you could land applicate it. You could make, you could use it to make compost or whatever, but it's a process, and you got to build a building.
We'd have to do something to it before we could get rid of it any other way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Uh,
It's regulated. To get a type 1 land applicable cost, it's a process. It's a process.
Is there a process that's worth exploring?
I've explored it. When I was in Wareham, we did it. It took us 3.5 years. Once you get it, it's good. We put out a solid waste. We gave it to the farmers. Still give it to the farmers. He still gives it to the farmers in the Middleborough, Carver area. Cumberland Farms was a big customer. I think Cabot Farms. So you just truck it.
Because when I was in Rhode Island, Barrington did that for a while. It was available to anybody.
Yep.
And it was great stuff.
But what do you have to do to it to make it that?
I
You
don't
got to
know.
break it down. You got to break down the solids, and then you got to disinfect it. So, and then you got to
Well,
vector it.
how expensive is just the disinfecting?
Well, disinfecting, usually what happens is in the composting process, it heats up in the middle, so you got to keep it for so many days and windroll it, so you have to have a facility to do that. And it can be quite odorous in that facility. Usually they encapsulate the facility, pull the air
Quite odorous, you said?
as you break it down, yes.
Forget it.
It's quite odorous as you break it down, yes. So you go to enclosures, and the closest, if you want, is in Dartmouth. You can go see theirs. They have a composting facility. They do it. They
really?
break it down, so you can take her up to Dartmouth and see their facility.
Somebody was saying the other day it was kind of stinky down by the plant.
I haven't noticed it. I've been on vacation, but I haven't noticed it. There's, it depends on,
I can't remember the day. All I ever remember was that particular day I was down there at the plant. And
That's right. You were going down there to sign the bills. That was Monday then.
I believe it was Monday.
Monday.
But I didn't see anything, smell anything. There was nothing. There was nothing, if it hadn't been mentioned to me, there's nothing that would make me even think about it. Because even when I got there, I was, consciously looking, smelling to see if there was anything there.
I think I got one odor complaint in the past couple of months, called in to me personally, nothing on the hotline, everything else, but we're still cleaning the basins, keeping them empty. There was a couple of times it was difficult because of the amount of water that came in that we had to do right, and so when we put a lot of water, it's very difficult to empty it. But as a rule, we try to get it empty. So it is. I don't know, what is BOD? Does anybody know why BOD's on the
Yeah,
report?
because we were having that discussion at the last meeting about outside
Rates.
contractor,
About what?
about an outside contractor to do that,
The BOD?
Testing.
Yes,
to do the testing.
tying it into a rate structure somehow. We decided we
Oh, is that what you're
test it.
okay, you're talking about breaking down. No, we haven't done that test yet. We're looking for an outside contractor. We got 3 potentials from the EPA to send out to do that. But yeah, we have not, the BOD, I think we have not done anything with that at all. We've talked to, waiting for quotes to do the pretreatment thing. That was, we got 2 engineers that are gonna get back to us after the first year, which it is now. We haven't got back to us yet. So I haven't done anything on this stuff. It's all after the first year.
This was a discussion we were having, about you've got the one machine, whatever it is, to sample, check.
That's to go out, that's for pretreatment. It's a sample.
Okay.
So what we're probably specifically is that,
That's what that was, that's
Okay.
what that meant.
okay, so specific, what we said to the malt factory is that when they're ready to go online, that we
We weren't
need
talking
them.
about the malt factory, what we're talking
That's what
about
the
is
BLG
your sampling,
That's what this is
and
for.
the fact that you are the only one that is doing the sampling.
I have a
And you've got
sample.
one machine,
I have
and
a
it will
sample.
take us another 5 years to do the town,
Mhm.
at the rate we're going, and the discussion was to get an independent
contractor.
That's what I
contractor
said to you, they get back to us.
do that.
And I'm waiting to hear from the engineers, we put that out, and when they get back to us, we'll start doing one at a time. I think I emailed that, one guy said about 60 grand a year,
Yeah.
that's probably reasonable, but I don't have any hard numbers, so I'll wait till I get some hard
Because
numbers.
that sounded
50 grand a year?
60 grand a year to do.
It sounded better than what you were discussing earlier.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
about 60 grand a year.
Exactly.
Now, what,
I don't know, we have to talk, I gave him generally what I was looking to do, he said about 60, so when people throw prices off the cuff, then when you sit down, then it's very specific, so as you get specific, the cost gets specific, so I have no idea what he's talking about.
So at least you got
Generally
somebody
pre-treatment.
that's gonna submit something.
Yes, we're actually going to sit down and meet with them, talk, and they'll at that point in time ask all the questions what are you looking to do, and then we'll get some hard answers based upon some hard facts. It's just general.
Okay.
Okay.
how, do you know how many commercial accounts we have?
I'm not sure, 100, let's say 100. I think it's about 350, 400 commercial accounts, if I remember correctly, but I can get the, I have about, I'm going to say about 350, 400 accounts. Gosh, I can't think of many more than that. I know we have 100 restaurants.
Excuse me?
We have 100 restaurants, and there's all kinds of businesses, some that don't affect us. You know, like some people have business in their home. They're recorded, but they really don't affect us. So you got to wade through all these business. But I want to say 350 is a round number. I'll get you. I can be specific. I've got a list. There's a list of all the business in Wareham.
Are you including the 100 restaurants in the commercial?
It's all inclusive. And then we try to break them out and see which ones have potential to be an issue, which ones don't. Like somebody that's doing a CPA business in their garage,
So
I probably wouldn't.
when we
be
talk
concerned
about restructuring the EDU rate, and we think about splitting commercial and residential, and just stick with the commercial for a second, can we base it on the BOD?
Some commercial you can't, so the BOD is always a factor because that's a higher cost to treat it. So you can put a factor in for that. And then you get water consumption is a factor. So that's, for me to answer that question, I would say it's only one
It seems like water
factor.
consumption's going to be, always going to be our drawback.
Yes,
So
it's
let's leave that out. Can we base it on the BOD?
only one factor.
Could we?
Yeah, I think it could be a factor. I don't know if you could base it. It'd just be one of the factors. Because there's also, with BOD, is strength of the organics, but there's non-organic things or inorganic things, like some compounds and chemicals and all that. So that's a factor. So there's just some variables. So just to say, let's pick a BOD when that's only one. Everybody has BOD. Residentials have BOD. A residential may not have a chemical. It may not have an acid. It may not have a specific organic compound that would come to us, that may be toxic. You see, so there's a lot of factors that you'd have to consider. And the nature of the business, that's why you go to the business, see what the nature of the business is, and then you research the nature of the business. Okay, what is my potential? Because you don't know. And so that's where the site visit is. You see what it is. Okay, here's what you're doing here. Okay. Oh, you're washing boards. You're making boards. Well, what are you using to solder them? Oh, you're losing whatever, cadmium, whatever. Okay, that's a potential. Then okay, well, I want you to test for this, this, and this with these metals. That may be a byproduct of their process and the bathing of their manufacturing. Or if they do chrome pair of bumpers, they strip down bumpers and they re-chrome them. What's your exposure there? Is it silver when they do solder?
I guess
there's so
then
many.
BOD isn't the way I want to do it then.
Yeah, BOD
I
is
guess what I want to say is, can we base the commercial on, I guess we'd have to know water consumption, and I don't know how many gallons. So we'd say, how much does it cost us to treat that?
If you
So
tell,
that
you may be able to get the flow. I'm thinking with the business,
Well,
if they give it to you.
We can get the flow per business if this outside contractor was to come in and go through the building as you described, from the time the water enters the building to the time it leaves, he can obviously get the reading. And if he goes back there, we got 350 places, so you're definitely not going to go back there once a month.
No, he would make the decision, or you would make the decision based upon
Type of business.
the type of business and the exposure. Some
Yes,
business
he
may
wouldn't
not-
have the water consumption on one visit.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, would he have to rely on his past or future? I don't know. Like,
Well-
let's say your business, I would say to you,
We
can I
want to
see you?
rely on the future, we want to rely on the consumption.
So I would say
you
to
have
you,
to
give
go
me-
the second time.
So I'd say to you, when I met my first visit, can I see your water bills for last year? What's your consumption? You're a businessman.
Yeah.
Obviously, you keep records. So I'd say to you, give me your consumption
I
for
was
last
just
year.
gonna say that, that'd be the simplest.
That's what I would do.
All right, well,
That's the question,
so
so half of
if,
them will give it to you.
Because that would be a question I would ask.
Yeah.
it wouldn't have to be, a long visit the second time if you did that. If you had the water consumption, you knew how much it was going to cost, and the second time you just go see how much more water they've used,
Yeah, it's just the initial is the
and
big
then you
one.
know how much it's costing to
The
treat.
initial visit is the one that's time consuming.
That's it.
Right.
After that,
Then
it's,
you come back afterwards and take your stuff out and deal with it.
and depending on the business and your liability, you may see them more often, but it would still be less consuming of time. You'd pop in to make sure that if you got, let's just say you want to make sure that they've got, borders enough that's going to stop cross-contamination or whatever, you would just make sure that that's happening. You'd go in and you check that, great, I'm good, and you would leave. There's no, the initial is the, show me this, show me that,
Yeah.
show me your chemical sheet, show me your steel sheet, show me your water. That's your first visit, is to see all that. Show me what the process looks like. Is it an open or closed loop? That's your consumption. After that, you pretty much
I'm
just,
sure, though, that on some businesses, like car washes, you've got to check to make sure that they're
their recirculation's working.
and all that.
So you got to
Yeah.
check that more regularly.
Yeah,
We've got a guy that has, as you probably know, the guy down, he's got a permit. The day that they went online, they took their system
system
offline.
offline.
The day they wanted, so nobody checked it. So if we're not checking, it's like we always talk about laws that we have, we're not going to enforce them, they're useless. Well, this guy's been violating from day one, and he's got a letter from the DEP that says, you will do this. And he says, oh yeah, we took it offline. It just doesn't work, and it's costly, and I got to clean it off, and yeah, we just took it offline. And so now that grit and particles are coming to us, and so we're trying to get him to put it back online, and he's fighting, saying, I know, I'm a good businessman, so, yeah, and so if we don't do our job, they're not gonna do their job, and I know you would say
Every
that
business is
businesses are
different.
honest, is, well, I gotta tell you, it comes down to the bottom line, and it's all about the bottom line, so if maintaining business is costly, you're not doing it, you're not doing it because it directly affects your bottom line. So that's why we gotta go out there and, to Donna's point, yes, are you doing this? Are you checking? Let's check it. Let's see it. Give me your records.
Some businesses would require more policing.
Yes.
Yes, no question.
That's just the cost. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, they'll start coming after the first of the year. People start shaking out, and we'll start having them appointments, and then we can bring them here to the board. The board can ask some questions, and we can go over it and see what everybody's got in mind. Compare apples to apples and see what we really have out there. How much of it we can get done. That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I have 3 quotes for the land clearing, and I gotta tell you, one quote was $63,000, one quote was $14,000, and one quote was $6,000. So I said, okay,
I'll take the 6.
okay, so here's the problem. The guy with the 6 said, I'll do it, but I won't grind the stumps. I'll leave you stumps everywhere. I said, well, that's not gonna work.
No.
He says, but I know a guy that I can hire to do the stumps. Well, what's he charge? Well, he gets about $2 grand a day or whatever. I said, oh my gosh. So that 6,000 can become anything. Let's say the very minimum 2,000 a day. Let's say it's 2 days. That's 4,000. 6 and 4 is 11,000. 10,500. So say $11,000. And then the timing issue is that once he's done, he's got to call this guy. I don't know about the issue. The guy in the middle that's $14,000 said he'll do everything. He'll clear it, stump it,
That's the
grade
guy you
it,
want.
with all the chips. And so I think that's the guy that I want.
You've got them started?
I'm going to start him. I just wanted to run it by the board because he can start immediately, and so he'll do it all. And when he leaves there, he said, I'll leave everything there, so you'll have a nice bed of chips and
You know
grindings.
of him?
I'm sorry?
You know of him?
I don't know him personally, but he's come
Yeah.
highly recommended from
I was gonna say,
Rochester.
you
What's
got
his
some
name?
He's in
references?
Rochester, SSH, have you ever heard of him, out of Rochester?
No.
His name is South Coast Creations,
Oh, okay.
SCC, out of Rochester. Very, very, I met the guy, respectable,
That's the guy
comes
I
highly
work with.
recommended,
Yep.
very professional.
Those are good references and that.
Good
that's
references, yeah.
Got
So
certificates of insurance and all that
all the
stuff.
certificates, he's got the equipment, he's got all the equipment, and it's hit from soup to nuts. He does it, and so there's no timing, so that's,
Well, now,
The other guy didn't
he's
do
gonna
the work.
cut down the trees, grind the stumps, cut out the brush.
And put it in.
And put all of it back, level all the land.
How deep is he gonna go?
Well, you can only go down 6 inches to a foot grinding.
Okay, so what I was leading up to was, we need a bond, is he gonna get near our pipe?
No, the pipe's 5 feet down, so that's why we're only gonna ground down
That's
6
what I was
inches.
getting at, all right.
We said 6 inches to 4 is the max, we're gonna just, and the goal was not to pull anything. I got nervous because the root's going down, so we didn't wanna pull any stumps. That's why we're gonna cut everything down, take all the brush out, and then some of what the school department did is when they were doing their school, they put all their debris there. So some of these trees that are growing, it's got 6 foot of debris that they gotta get the debris out before they can cut the tree down and stump it. So he said he'll do all that. And so to me, it makes sense.
And then you're gonna spread it over the whole.
Then he's gonna spread over the whole thing, and all the grinding is gonna stay there, so everything's gonna be spread out. And so it seems to be the way to go, yeah. So I'll get that done immediately. Everything's signed, we got the letter back from Warren. The town, we sent him a letter of acceptance that the town accepted his bid. He's agreed to do it at his bid. We got that back. So that's done. Mr. Bowen just got back to us. He's approved the contract, so the contract's done. So now we just got to get the book signed. We got 5 books. He'll sign them all, and then we'll disperse them. And the book will come to the board, and everybody have a book that's about this thick that speaks specifically to the entire project. We're meeting tomorrow with the contractor about the actual, what his plans are for bypassing, so he'll walk it and tell us all his plans. We'll do that tomorrow.
How many feet of
So
clear?
January 15th doesn't sound like it's gonna happen.
It's very possible. I mean, it's just formality now. The contractor signed all the documents. We gave him all the documents to sign. We approved all the documents. So it's just the town that actually physically do their signature. It's been approved by our attorney. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't see the 15th being irresponsible. I think it's real. Yeah, so that's,
Sounds good.
When everybody signs off on it, does the police have to sign off on it?
no, please have nothing to do with it. They're just gonna get paid. There's nothing to sign off on. So what happens with the police, to be very specific? We budgeted for the police details. What they sign off on is safety. So when we're all done with the plan, we'll take it to the police and they'll tell us, well, that's fine, or this scares me, or this doesn't scare me, or whatever. So that's a fluid thing. That's as you move along, because that changes fluidly. The police can change their mind tomorrow depending on the safety issues that they may or may not be.
Does anybody notify the fire department?
The police notify all fire department, the EMS, everybody gets
So that
notified.
they know that there could be an obstruction in the road?
Absolutely.
Oh,
That's why it's important to get a detail, or if we're gonna close the road, no detail, then it's our responsibility. And we usually notify Dave Evans, who notifies everybody. And and especially if it's going to affect traffic to the hospital, because there's an ambulance coming that I'm not even aware of. And so everybody has to be notified. People I would never think about notifying, but we leave it up to the emergency personnel, because they know more than we'll ever will. Yeah, so and it's not approval, but they see it and they'll say, because we're thinking worst case scenario, 2 cops here, 2 cops here. They may say, no, you only need 1 here. So we're thinking, we budgeted for worst case scenario. We budgeted almost, I think, $160,000 or $200,000 for the police detail. So that'll be good.
The detail cost is on the contractor.
It's part, it was bid, that's a number he
Yeah.
carried in his bid. Yeah. Because we talked to the police and got some ballpark numbers and, the detail, and then we talked about time, and they gave us what it would cost us, and so the contractor carried those numbers. So it's all in that inclusive contract, but still. So that's what they'll work on. So that's moving, that's it. I'm pretty happy with that. So we should meet that. That's all I have. Again, I didn't do a whole lot. I'm going to try to, the 17th, everything with the 17th, but, because it's, I'm just not, I was on vacation.
We know about that seminar, or workshop,
The 7th, or the 25th?
25th of January.
What workshop?
That's down at Mass Maritime, Bus Bay Coalition on
The grant, and so they can tell us where we are, up to date, so they're invited. Because one of the tasks is to establish a government, or how we're gonna run this facility, gonna be strictly RMAs, whatever, so I think it's time for to be real, is for all the players to either buy on or don't buy on. It's almost like I call it the come to Jesus meeting. Here we are. It's going to cost a ton of money. What's your contribution? Break up the number. And that's one of the goals of that meeting.
Is the railroad gonna be there?
No, they don't have to be there. They won't be there. Railroads, they won't be there.
I think it's all a waste of time.
The railroad?
The whole project. I don't think it can happen unless you get the railroad on board, and they're gonna make it so damn expensive, we're not gonna be able to afford to do it.
I don't know. I'm not backing out from happening. One thing that perplexed me is even going underground, the Corps of Engineer owns you. Forget the railroad, now the Corps of Engineers gets involved because they own navigable waters, and you start going over or around navigable waters, they take control. Even boring under their waters, they regulate. I didn't know that. When I asked the question, we're gonna go under, this, yeah, we still regulate that.
But there's only one spot where you're going under the water.
Well, there's potential of one, there's one definitely, but there's potential of more, because we could back up to directional drilling and say, okay, instead of coming at this point, let's back it up close to the plant. Instead of going 60-28 or the railroad, let's go from the plant underground and come up someplace and board. So those are possibilities, but what they're telling us is once we go under navigable waters, they still own it. So
Once you go what?
under, even if I go under it, if I can be
Under what?
navigable waters, even if I'm 2 miles under it, 10 miles under it, they still own it. I didn't know that. That blew me away. I had no concept. I didn't know that. So they regulate, Corps of Engineers regulate everything. That's why we met with the Corps, and we've got the paperwork started. So no matter what we do, we're gonna need the Corps' blessing, no matter what we do. And so it's good to get them on board early. And that's why we met with them. But I had no idea. If you had asked me, I would never fathom in a million years that if I drilled under everything, I didn't know that your land goes down.
Who's putting on this workshop?
What's the big coalition at the Mass Maritime?
I'd get the railroad involved.
They are involved. They already made their determinations.
Have they told you what you have to do?
We have it in writing. We have it in writing. We have a report from Jacobs. That's their engineering firm they hired. We have it in writing. Absolutely. We know what we have to do, and we're just trying to, we know that, and we put a tentative cost to it. Now we're looking at alternatives.
We were required to come up with alternatives from the beginning on this anyhow.
Always. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
this isn't something new and different.
No, we're just looking at all the potentials
We haven't,
of,
but our focus has been predominantly on the rail line and kind of backburnering the alternatives, but because of the
cost.
requirements of the railroad,
Requirements, yeah.
the other items become more of a front burner item now to at least address and see whether or not, if, how, where.
And even if the railroad said you can go ahead and do it, it wasn't complicated, it still would be responsible to look at you may not have dug as hard, but to look at your alternatives.
Right.
Because that's how you get your comparisons. You can't say, I'll just do A. You gotta look at B, C, and D and say, yeah, A is absolutely a good alternative, or maybe I. So we would have done that anyways, but now that we know the restrictions of the railroad, or the requirements, we're looking at other areas a little harder than we would have. Yeah. Especially 6 and 28. We never considered 6 and 28. Now we're looking at it. We never considered Onset Avenue. Now we're looking at it. We never considered directional drilling the whole route. Now we're looking at it. So just all the alternatives we're looking at.
What are the alternatives you're looking at?
Drilling the entire, cutting into Route 6 and 28. There was laying a pipe.
So no matter how you talk about this, you're always talking about putting it in a pipe.
So I don't know how else to get it. It's got to go in a pipe.
You're dumping it in the river now. Why can't we dig a culvert all the way down there? Except where we have to go under the road.
A culvert.
An open culvert?
Culvert. I don't know anybody that would permit that
Why?
because it's wastewater. Just to
You're
sound-
dumping it in an open river now.
We're dumping an open
What's
river
the
that has
difference?
flushing, and it flushes it, and it's diluted in the whole 9 yards. You take, all you're talking about is what you're talking about is just taking a pipe, cutting the top off, and let it run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. First of all, a couple of things. That deals with hydraulics, so we'd have to keep going deeper. right? Because it's got to flow, because you got nothing to push it, there's an open pipe. So that's hydraulics. So you'd have to come out at elevation here and be at an elevation here. So that means that the entire, so as you leave the plant, you're going downhill all the way to get to Bourne, and I don't know if the elevations will match. And then you'd have to culvert it to a pump station to bring it back up to culvert it down. So that, just that
Okay.
concept is would be difficult and very costly. But I don't
Be
see.
a hell of a lot cheaper than digging, putting a pipe in all the way along the railroad where they're not gonna allow you to move a millimeter.
I'll ask. I just don't think that the state or the EPA would ever allow
Why
a
not?
discharge from the culvert.
As clean as it is, what's the difference? If you're putting it in an open river now,
That's the discharge. We discharge it to an open, like we'd be discharging the canal. It goes in a series of pipes to get to the river. We don't just let it culvert out the back and flow down. It's actually piped. Gravity piped. It comes out, a pipe comes out into the river.
yeah,
So, yeah. So
but the river's wide open.
it is. Once it's in the river, it dilutes. It gets in the river, the water dilutes it, and it carries it down into the ocean.
Dilute a little of the river, let it push it along.
I don't know. I mean, I'll certainly ask the question, but I just don't see a culvert ever happening. I don't see it. Plus, the elevation scares me. Hydraulically, I don't see how I'd get it there. I don't see how I could get it there.
It still would be cheaper to drill a half a dozen pump stations and just push it along. Yeah, cover it if you want. But the hell with digging the holes. You know, leave it up on top.
We talked about a pipe on top, and they were kind of like, ooh.
You talk to what?
Talk about putting a pipe on the ground, they kind of like,
Exactly.
ooh. That's what we thought. They were frowning. The EPA and the state and the EPA, who regulates us, were frowning on a pipe on the surface, like a force main on the
Why?
ground. And they said it was a hazard. Somebody could hit it, somebody could break it. They had a million
They're
scenarios.
gonna have to go across the railroad tracks to get at it.
It is a hazard.
They would not let us.
Something eventually happens.
Gosh, and then I gotta maintain that culvert. What if a little kid got in the culvert and drowned? Who owns that? I don't know. We put a fence up, so they climb the fence. It just goes on and on and on and on. The liabilities would never, and then you have water, so now you got mosquitoes, you got this, you got that. How do you keep, I don't know. Just thinking on the top of my head what presents a culvert. Think of a culvert in the summer. What happens to that culvert? Bugs are everywhere. People are there. I don't know.
In the summer, you'd only be dumping half the waste. Most of it would have evaporated. To make the EPA happy.
Who turned you on tonight?
I
I don't know.
Shut him off.
I want to know where the shut-off button is.
You'll find
That's what
it.
happens when you quit drinking.
Go get that Schlitz.
It's just
It's a thought. And you know what?
it's just the cost the railroad is gonna put on us. I can't see them, I mean, even if you were to do, you know, a pipe like the Alaska pipeline, just a few feet off the ground, you're gonna have to be off the tracks.
I
Get off
thought,
the tracks.
see, I thought
But
that.
see, but the best way to do it is to do it with a machine on the tracks and go right alongside the railroad. But you're gonna have to get off twice a day.
When the train comes in. So, and the other thing they talked about was the zone of encroachment. So there's tracks here and there's a loading, and they had a very specific number, then it flattens out. If you're in that loading zone, you got issues. That's why I said if I was even in it or just out of it, if I put a pipe above the ground,
Well, how?
it wouldn't affect the bed.
How far is, what's their easement and what's the loading zone?
I have the whole set of plans. I can't tell you, but it could be anywhere from 45 feet to, I think it's 90 or 100 and something is the
So
lot.
what's the loading?
The loading zone is a minimum on the backside, so they need, the track is, I forget, the track, let's say the track is 20 feet across, I could get
What do you
the
expect
12.
them to walk around with these stats in his head?
And then you got it, then it
45
kind of
degrees.
gradually flows off, so then that's all the loading zone. You know what I mean? So that's what we can't affect. If we do affect it, we gotta put piling in, so it doesn't shift, the truck doesn't shift. And again, I understand it, because if it wasn't for the fact that they're bringing commuter rails, that they can be traveling 65 miles an hour, that changes the entire game of that track. Trash truck a couple of times a day, not that they'll dismiss it, but the commuter rail makes it, because now you're bringing people back and from, so that, the safety of that is crazy, so that's why they got very.
No, it's gonna happen.
That's
Not
not
my
me.
lifetime.
No?
I think so.
One's already signed up. because it's happening. The first, they're going to expand the flyer. They're already talking about that. That's going to become year-round. That's in the extremely near future. And then they're going to take it from there.
I like to remember when it used to be, we used to have the train service.
Everyday thing.
All the time.
Yeah.
Commuting, let's get into the station and we'll get Wareham.
It's like, yeah.
I can't remember that far back.
Oh, I can remember visiting my family in Monument Beach, getting off in Monument Beach, getting off in Pecasset, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, getting over the bridge, taking it, yes. I remember that vividly, that's how we go visit.
Getting over the bridge, then taking the river?
No, it's good, go to the, it's split, so you get on in Wareham, sometimes in Buzzards Bay, go over there, they lower the bridge, go over the bridge, and then they'd split. We'd go to the right through Monument Beach, Pecasset, that's where my family lived. And we get off the train, visit, and then come
Yeah,
home.
I know where those tracks
Absolutely.
are.
That's what we used to do years ago.
I know where those tracks
They
are.
brought the bridge down?
Yeah, they had
I
to.
thought they went,
But we tried. We wanted to. Back in the day, we would have if they had let us, I promise you. But yeah. And it was, I remember they used to allow us to go up there and take pictures up in the towers. I still have pictures in the towers that people have taken. So yeah, it was quite a thing. So I'd like to see it come back if it's possible. I don't know if it will, but when I hear that they're going to bring the rail back, I don't think it's a bad idea.
No, and-
What, the commuter rail? Oh, no, I think it's a terrific idea. Don't get me wrong. I'd be 100% for it. I just,
I'd
Things
like to
take so
see us move
long.
along here.
Nothing moves along.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
okay, anything else?
I have nothing else. I have nothing else.
Okay, we've got unfinished business, which some pumps are still playing with that.
have we talked to Rich Bowen on that yet?
Trying to get a meeting with him this coming week,
Okay.
next week, whatever. He's got to be, because I know
He's been traveling.
he's been all over the place. So. A couple of things to see him on. Anything new or different on Stone Path, Guy?
Nothing.
Okay.
And they said 6 months to a year. That's their letter says, so it's obviously they're not doing anything.
Okay.
I think I might be able to get a meeting with Bob Ethier within the next couple of weeks. Who wants to be a part of that? This is on connecting the homes.
If I'm not working, let me know.
Okay.
I'll let you know
The
if I'm
rates
working, but right now I'm not.
increase late, did we ever talk about we're getting calls, but not, I gotta tell you, not as many as I thought. I thought the call line would be off the hook.
What?
For the rate increase.
I thought that it-
We're getting calls.
Yeah, I'm sure
We're
you
getting
did.
calls because of letters, and they're expected, I expected the calls, I mean,
They're all
single
looking at their
women.
water bills.
So,
These
yeah.
guys are nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, a lot of people are saying to that point, they're saying, oh, we thought it was a water bill, because they said, well, you just went up 6 months ago. And then 6 months before that, I'm saying, oh, that wasn't us, so, yeah.
Yeah.
So they just taper off, we got maybe 1 or 2 calls, I trickled down to nothing, so
Good.
I'm pleased with that.
Well, it's an easy reply, Guy. When was the last time you bumped the rate?
6 years
It
ago?
was 2011?
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so. Yeah.
Okay.
And the EU rates, that's in Time Bonds Court at the moment.
I've been looking at EPA regs, and I tell you what, it's at every level of government, if you don't have water, it's a major discussion. It's not an easy task. I'm going to say that and leave it at that. The EPA handbook is, I downloaded, you can go and get their website, it's 278 pages, how to do EDUs, and it's a mess. It's a
Well,
mess.
and again, too, we talked about this briefly, but we can put our finger and figure the residential rate based on BOD somewhat.
Because
You said 80%,
80% is residential,
Residential.
and it's pretty steady.
and that's a pretty static
That's a pretty
It's a
steady,
treat.
absolutely.
Yeah.
residential,
Doesn't
and I think
change.
that's where you start as a basis. And then you build on that for the commercial, depending on what the analysis is. I don't think we have a choice but to go that way.
Does it,
And you
absolutely.
back it in, 80% of my budget is.
Yep. No, I agree with you.
Then they gotta distribute the other 20%.
Yeah, because what they talk about in the EPA manual is distribution and proportionate. They use that word proportional umpteen times in the paragraph, but proportional because it's got to stand legal challenge. That's all. That's what the EPA is saying. You know? That's why they have a hard time without water, saying, okay, it's like,
It would be a tool
you wanna
to
go
aid
out
us
water
in
with
setting
it?
our rates, but
Okay, town board capital costs.
that's document 200, have you signed it? It's the $188,000 annually to Bourne's 20-year payment structure for the plant construction. That's what that is, $188,000 a year for 20 years is what they've agreed to.
That's them paying us.
No, that's us paying. No, he was right. That's actually them paying their portion of the loan. So it's not paying us, paying the loan, but paying us. It comes into, we send that to pay for the loan. And that's their portion of the annual cost.
Okay, and also under that, I think we need to start looking at a town meeting article to refund the borrowing authorization for the other $5 million, or for the $5 million authorization we got. And also, I think we need another article to ask for the $5 back again, to continue lining pipes.
Why can't we just have them change it from that project
Don't know
to?
that we can, that's the problem, that's one of the things that I'm finding out, they're saying you've got to return that first and ask for a new.
I'm not sure, I'll tell you why.
If we can switch it, if we can just add on,
We did
mazel tov.
an article for engineering, $750,000 for Swiss Beach. We changed that article to town-wide. That's all we did, at town meeting. So I'm suggesting under that, we've done it, so I don't know why we couldn't do it again.
But does that have to go before town meeting to change that?
Yeah, so we went to town meeting, because we went to town meeting, they gave us $750,000 for engineering for Swiss
Okay,
Beach.
so essentially that'll do the same thing as what I'm saying.
That's what I'm thinking.
Fine,
That's
okay, let's pursue that then, because that's probably cleaner and easier.
Because it gets clean at town meeting, all you do is just change
One of
it.
those is the Son Fund.
I took that one as a blue one.
Make a motion that we adjourn?
Do I have a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and, oh no,
Gets quick.
7:10 adjournment.